Hey guys, and welcome back to my spiritual channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button down below as well as turn your bell notifications on in order to be notified when I upload new content. Today we're talking about the difference between the soul and the ego. I've been talking about the soul and the ego a lot on this channel, like I'm always associating everything kind of negative with the ego and everything positive and soulful and spiritual with the soul, obviously. But I never really got into what it is, and I realized that it's not really as common sense as I thought it was. So today I decided that I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference between the soul and the ego, and why it's important to know the difference between the two, and why such intellectual distinction even exists in spirituality. So in spirituality, we believe that there is such a thing as an eternal soul that comes from the source. The soul is basically the same thing as God, as the universe, as whatever the intellectual source of energy that you believe in. Your soul and that thing out there that you're praying to, that you are manifesting from, is the same thing. In different traditions, it's kind of different. So some people believe that your soul is like a tiny piece of the giant universal soul. Other people believe that it's basically the same thing, which is what I believe in. Regardless, your soul is a pure source of energy that is full of love and joy that you can always tap into, that's always available to you. It is something that underlies your very nature. It is something that's way more natural and way more at home for you than, let's say, your creative personality. Now let's talk about ego. Ego is not just your sense of pride. So it's not just the concept of you being, it really hurt my ego. Like, that's not what we're talking about. Ego in spirituality is basically the personality that you have created throughout your lifetime. Everything that you made yourself believe that you are is your ego. So your soul is what you actually are. Your ego is what you believe that you are. So my ego is a 22-year-old woman of Asian descent. My ego also likes chocolates. My ego likes certain types of movies. My ego believes certain things about myself. My ego is basically the kind of a protection mechanism, protection personality that I've created in order to operate in this world. A lot of spiritual gurus seek to completely abolish the ego. So enlightenment, a lot of people understand it as complete abolishment of the ego and the union with God, the union with whatever it is, your soul that you have forgotten while you have created the ego. Other spiritual leaders, usually more modern ones, don't seek for you to completely abolish the ego. Instead, they think that you should make the ego your slave to your soul. So all of your decisions should be guided by your soul, but the abolishment of the personality that you've created is not necessary. Regardless of what you believe to be the role of the ego and the soul, there are certain characteristics of the soul and the ego that make it clear for you the distinction between the two. The ego is temporary. It believes that it's temporary, and that's why it's so driven to protect itself. It's afraid of everything because it believes that the time of it here is limited, which it is true. The soul, on the other hand, understands that it is eternal, so it has nothing to be afraid of. Ego thinks that it is alone. It sees every single person that it meets on its way as a competition. The soul, on the other hand, is wise because it is as old as this universe, and it understands that there is no separation between people. There is no separation between me and you. Everything is one, so it never seeks to benefit on behalf of other people. From this idea of competition that ego has, it always just tries to benefit itself. The soul, on the other hand, benefits not only itself but everything around it, because it understands that everything around it is just an extension of what it is. Ego constantly is seeking the answer to its question. What is God? What is this? How can we make this? The soul, on the other hand, does not seek an answer because every answer lies within the soul. The soul is eternal wisdom, while the ego is simply seeking eternal wisdom outside of it. Ego is always preoccupied with trying to get to a certain destination. It believes that it will be satisfied the next paycheck, the next job, the next partner. The soul understands that it has everything that it needs to feel fulfilled, to feel content and happy. The soul is not obsessed with destinations. Instead, it seeks for you to be present now. Ego always wants more, whether physical or non-physical, whether love, whether new purse or new shoes or new apartment, whatever it is you want, ego can never be satisfied. It's always seeking satisfaction somewhere else, but because satisfaction cannot be found somewhere else, it's always seeking for more. Soul, as I said, is completely satisfied where it is. It's fulfilled and content. Of course, it can be moving towards something, but it doesn't have the necessity to move in that direction. It is not desperately seeking anything because it is fulfilled as it is. One thing that you should understand about ego is that it's very controversial. It always believes that it's protecting itself. It's always running away from pain and suffering, when in reality, it's causing pain and suffering. Soul is not afraid of anything. It cannot be hurt because it's constant love and joy. That's its nature. That's why it's not running away from pain. It's simply incapable of experiencing it. Ego is only capable of operating in the physical world. Everything it's trying to do, all the power that it's trying to achieve, all the satisfaction it's trying to get is from the outside. It is so preoccupied with the outside world that it doesn't understand that everything comes from within. Everything that's truly good, that's truly happy and content, is soulful. Everything else, every negative emotion, every negative feeling that you have is ego. This is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video and it has helped you clear out the difference between your soul and your ego. Thank you guys so much for watching. Namaste.